The emergency session of the Galactic Council took place on the neutral station Convergence, deep in the void between territories. For the first time in 800 years, representatives from all three major powers sat at the same table without weapons drawn. Hanul walked into the chamber wearing simple diplomatic robes, flanked by two human advisors. She looked calm, but inside she knew this moment would determine the future of both humanity and the galaxy. The aliens had called this meeting and they wanted answers. The chamber itself was impressive, a massive dome with seats for hundreds of delegates. But today only 12 beings sat in the vast space, 4 from each alien power and 4 humans. The emptiness made every word echo. Chancellor Vex of the Velthara Consortium spoke first. His 4 arms gestured dramatically as he addressed Hanul. Ambassador, what we witnessed 3 days ago has shaken the foundations of our understanding. Your people demonstrated capabilities that our scientists consider impossible. Not impossible, Hanul replied calmly. Just difficult. Humans have always been good at solving difficult problems. Hegemon Thorn of the Keth hegemony leaned forward aggressively. Don't play word games with us, human. What we saw was technology beyond anything in our databases. Stellar engineering, dimensional manipulation, gravity control. These are theoretical concepts, not practical tools. For you, perhaps, said Dongyun, the human historical analyst sitting beside Hanul. But humans approach problems differently. We don't assume something is impossible just because it's hard. Prime Neural Kex of the collective spoke in the emotionless tone of their species. Our analysis indicates that your demonstrations required energy outputs equivalent to small stars. Your vessels showed no signs of such massive power generation. Explanation required. Hanul had been preparing for this question for days. We've learned to be efficient with energy. Your civilizations tend to use brute force approaches. Bigger ships, more powerful weapons, massive installations. Humans prefer elegant solutions. This was true, but not the whole truth. Human technology was simply centuries more advanced than anything the aliens possessed. What seemed impossible to them was routine engineering for humanity. Chancellor Vex activated a holographic display showing the recent demonstration. This fighter craft disabled our battleship without firing a weapon. It manipulated gravitational fields with surgical precision. How? The same way your people manipulate electromagnetic fields, Hanul replied. Practice, understanding, and the right tools. Hegemon Thorn slammed his massive fist on the table. Enough riddles. We know you're hiding something. Our intelligence reports indicate your colonies are far more extensive than you've admitted. We've detected artificial structures and systems you claim are uninhabited. The moment Hanul had been dreading had arrived. She glanced at Ji-hoon, her military advisor, who gave her a subtle nod. It was time to reveal part of the truth. You're right, she said simply. We haven't been entirely honest about our presence in this galaxy. The admission sent shockwaves through the alien delegates. Chancellor Vex's large eyes widened. What do you mean? Dongyun activated his own holographic display, showing a star map. But instead of the few dozen systems the aliens thought humanity occupied, hundreds of locations lit up across the galaxy. We've been here longer than we initially claimed, Dongyun said, and we've been more thorough in our exploration. Prime Neural Kex's mechanical voice carried a hint of emotion for the first time. This indicates presence in our territory. Explanation required for territorial violation. We haven't violated anything, Hanul said firmly. We've been careful to avoid inhabited systems and respect your borders. But yes, we've established research stations and monitoring posts throughout the galaxy. Monitoring posts? Hegemon Thorn's voice was dangerous. You've been spying on us. We've been watching, Ji-hoon interjected, speaking for the first time. For 2 centuries we've observed your civilizations, learned about your cultures, and tried to understand why you've been locked in eternal conflict. The military advisor pulled up historical data. In the past 200 years, your 3 powers have fought 17 border conflicts, engaged in 43 acts of industrial sabotage, and assassinated over 300 political leaders. Meanwhile, potential solutions to problems like resource scarcity, population pressure, and technological stagnation have been ignored. Chancellor Vex looked uncomfortable. These conflicts are necessary to maintain the balance of power. Without constant vigilance, one side could gain an unfair advantage. Unfair advantage? Hanul asked. Or just advantage? When did progress become something to fear instead of celebrate? She stood and walked to the center of the chamber. Your civilizations are incredibly old and wise. You've survived for millennia, built vast empires and achieved wonders that deserve respect. But you've also become prisoners of your own success. The holographic display changed to show galactic resource distribution. You control thousands of worlds, but you're barely using a fraction of their potential. You have brilliant scientists, but they spend more time watching each other than researching. You have massive fleets, but they're used to maintain stalemate instead of exploration. Hegemon Thorn growled. Easy words from someone whose people have been hiding in the shadows. What have you contributed to galactic civilization? This was the moment Hanul had been building toward. More than you know. Jihoon activated another display, this one showing incidents across the galaxy over the past century. Asteroids deflected from collision courses with inhabited worlds. Plague outbreaks that mysteriously ended just before becoming unstoppable. Solar flares that should have sterilized entire systems but somehow missed populated planets. Natural phenomena, Prime Neural Kex observed. Random cosmic events. None of it was random, Hanul said quietly. We've been preventing disasters, stopping plagues, and protecting your worlds for decades. Quietly, carefully, without taking credit or demanding payment. The silence in the chamber was deafening. Finally, Chancellor Vex spoke. Why? Because it was the right thing to do, Hanul replied. Because civilizations are precious things that shouldn't be allowed to die from neglect or accident. And because we hoped that someday, you might be ready to move beyond your current limitations. Hegemon Thorn was struggling to process this information. You're saying humans have been protecting us? Without our knowledge or consent? The same way parents protect children, Donghyun said. You watch them grow, keep them safe from dangers they can't see, and hope they eventually become wise enough to protect themselves. This comparison clearly offended the alien delegates, but Hanul continued before they could respond. We don't see you as children. We see you as civilizations with incredible potential that's being wasted on pointless conflicts. The galaxy could be a paradise if you worked together instead of against each other. Prime Neural Kex asked the obvious question. What gives you the right to make such decisions for us? Power, Jihoon said bluntly. We have the capability to help, so we chose to help. We could have conquered your territory centuries ago, but conquest isn't progress. We could have revealed ourselves and demanded tribute, but tribute isn't cooperation. Hanul walked back to her seat. We're revealing this now because the situation is changing. Your conflicts are escalating. New technologies are being developed that could destabilize the current balance. And frankly, we're tired of watching from the shadows. Chancellor Vex leaned back in his chair. What do you want from us? A choice, Hanul replied. You can continue your endless conflicts, knowing that we're out here watching and occasionally intervening. Or you can try something different. Work together. Share knowledge. Build something better than what you have now. And if we refuse? Hegemon Thorn asked. Jihoon's smile was not entirely friendly. Then you continue as you have. But be aware that the galaxy is changing, whether you participate in that change or not. The meeting continued for hours, as the alien delegates struggled with the implications of what they had learned. Everything they thought they knew about the balance of power had been shattered. A fourth faction had been operating in the shadows, advanced enough to manipulate events on a galactic scale. As the session ended, Chancellor Vex had one final question. What happens now? Now you go home and think, Hanul replied. Discuss this with your leaders. Decide what kind of future you want to build. We'll be here when you're ready to talk. The alien delegates filed out slowly, their minds reeling from revelations that would reshape their understanding of the galaxy. Behind them, the human delegation remained seated, knowing that the hardest part was yet to come. Fleet Commander Wanho stood on the bridge of the Harmony, watching the alien delegation arrive. Representatives from all three galactic powers had demanded this meeting. They wanted proof that humanity was what they claimed to be, simple colonists with basic technology. Sir, the alien ships are taking position, reported Lieutenant Inha from the tactical station. 12 vessels total. They're maintaining what they think is a safe distance. Wanho almost smiled. The aliens thought they were being cautious by staying 50,000 kilometers away. They didn't know that human weapons could accurately target objects from the other side of a solar system. Ambassador Nari appeared on the communication screen from the diplomatic vessel. Commander, our guests are getting impatient. They want to see our primitive technology in action. Understood. Begin the demonstration. The test had been carefully planned. Humanity would reveal just enough capability to satisfy alien curiosity without showing their true power. It was a delicate balance between maintaining their cover and proving they weren't helpless. The first demonstration was led by Seo Jin, a terraforming specialist. She had been tasked with showing how humans could barely manage basic stellar engineering. Honored delegates, she announced over the communication channel, will now demonstrate our experimental stellar maintenance technology. The target was a dying red giant star in an uninhabited system. Its nuclear fuel was nearly exhausted, and it would collapse within a few thousand years. The aliens considered stellar engineering to be purely theoretical, something that might be possible with unlimited resources and perfect conditions. Seojin's ship, the Star Tender, approached the dying star. To alien eyes, it looked like a standard research vessel with some unusual equipment attached. They couldn't see the dark matter manipulators or the quantum field generators that made the real work possible. Beginning dark matter injection, Seojin announced, though she was careful not to explain what that meant. The effect was immediate and dramatic. New fuel began forming in the star's core as dark matter was converted into hydrogen through processes the aliens couldn't detect. The star's color shifted from deep red to bright yellow as its fusion reactions stabilized. On the alien ships, sensors went crazy trying to understand what was happening. "Impossible," whispered Captain Hyun from the Velthara vessel. "The energy requirements for that process should be astronomical." "We've had some luck with focused gravity manipulation," Seojin replied modestly. "Though it only works on smaller stars." This was a massive understatement. The star they had just revived was larger than Earth's sun. Human technology could reignite any star up to supergiant size, and they had done it dozens of times throughout their hidden territories. The second demonstration was handled by Kyung-soo, a mining engineer. His target was a large asteroid with valuable metal deposits. "We'll show you our phase shift mining technique," he announced. "It's not very efficient, but it lets us extract materials without breaking up the asteroid." The aliens watched in amazement as parts of the asteroid simply disappeared, leaving behind perfectly carved tunnels and chambers. The missing material reappeared in the cargo holds of Kyung-soo's ship. "How are you moving matter through solid rock?" demanded Commander Zorth from the hegemony vessel. "Dimensional folding," Kyung-soo replied casually. "We learned it from studying quantum mechanics. Though we can only manage small objects." Another lie. Human dimensional technology could phase entire planets between realities if needed. They used it regularly to hide their larger installations from alien detection. The final demonstration was the one that truly shocked the aliens. Combat pilot Inha had volunteered to show off defensive capabilities against one of the alien escort vessels. "This is just a test of our evasion systems," she announced as her small fighter approached the massive alien battleship. "We found that rapid maneuvering can sometimes confuse targeting computers." What happened next was beyond the aliens' comprehension. Inha's fighter began moving in patterns that violated everything they knew about physics. It turned without momentum, accelerated without apparent thrust, and seemed to exist in multiple locations at once. "Target lock lost," reported the alien gunner desperately. It's phasing in and out of reality." "That's impossible," Captain Hyun exclaimed. "No vessel that size could generate the power needed for dimensional shifting." Inha's voice remained calm over the communication channel. "We've gotten pretty good at managing power efficiency, though this only works for short periods," but she wasn't done. As the alien ship tried frantically to reacquire target lock, Inha activated her ship's gravity manipulation systems. The massive alien battleship suddenly found itself unable to move. Its engines were running at full power, but it hung motionless in space. "What's happening to our ship?" demanded the alien captain. "Sorry about that," Inha replied. "Our defensive systems sometimes interfere with nearby gravity fields. We're still working out the bugs." She released the gravitational lock, and the alien ship lurched forward as its engines finally found purchase again. The alien crew was too stunned to respond immediately. Fleet Commander Wonho opened a channel to all the alien vessels. "I hope that demonstration was satisfactory. As you can see, we've developed some interesting techniques over the years." There was a long silence before Captain Hyun responded. "Commander Wonho, what you've shown us today, these are not the capabilities of a primitive species. We never claimed to be primitive. Wanho replied carefully. We said we were colonists who preferred isolation. We've had a lot of time to experiment and develop new approaches to old problems. Commander Zorth's voice was shaky. The gravitational manipulation alone should require a power source larger than our biggest ships. How are you generating that much energy? Efficient engineering, Wanho said with a slight smile. Humans are good at making things work with limited resources. The truth was that Inha's fighter had more available power than the entire alien fleet combined. Human fusion reactors were centuries more advanced than anything the aliens had developed, and that was before factoring in zero-point energy extraction and antimatter systems. Dr. Vorth from the Trilaxian delegation asked the question they were all thinking. Commander, if these are your defensive capabilities, what are your offensive systems like? Wanho paused before answering. This was the moment they had been building toward. We prefer not to think in terms of offensive and defensive. All our technology is designed for construction, research, and protection. But he let the implication hang in the air. But they could be weaponized, finished Ambassador Nari from the diplomatic ship. Any technology can be weaponized, Wanho agreed. We choose not to do so because we have no enemies. We hope to keep it that way. The alien delegates spent the next hour asking technical questions that the humans answered with carefully crafted half-truths. Yes, they could manipulate gravity. No, it wasn't easy. Yes, they could phase matter between dimensions. No, it didn't work on very large objects. Yes, they could reignite dying stars. No, they couldn't do it quickly. Every answer was technically true while hiding the vast scope of humanity's real capabilities. As the meeting ended, Captain Hyun made one final observation. Commander Wanho, your people have accomplished in 2 centuries what our civilizations have been unable to achieve in millennia. How is that possible? Wanho considered his answer carefully. Perhaps it's because we haven't spent those centuries fighting each other. When you're not watching your back, you can focus on moving forward. The alien ships departed soon after, their crews struggling to process what they had witnessed. Behind them, the human fleet remained in position, looking innocent and peaceful. But the demonstration had changed everything. The galaxy now knew that humanity possessed capabilities that bordered on the miraculous. The question was what they would do with that knowledge. Admiral Taehyun floated in the zero-gravity observation chamber of Shipyard Prime, watching the construction of humanity's newest vessel. The ship was massive, nearly 10 kilometers long, but it would never appear on any alien sensor. Like everything else humanity built, it was designed to be invisible. Construction is ahead of schedule, reported Chief Engineer Minho as he joined the Admiral. The new hull composites are performing better than expected. Complete stealth at all frequencies plus the ability to phase shift if we need to avoid physical detection. Taehyun nodded. Good. How many more yards do we have online now? 47 major construction facilities plus hundreds of smaller installations. All hidden in asteroid fields, rogue planets, or dead systems. The aliens would need to search for 1,000 years to find even half of them. The Admiral smiled grimly. Humanity had been busy during their 2 centuries of isolation. While the galactic powers fought their endless Cold War, humans had built an infrastructure that spanned the entire galaxy. They had mining operations and systems the aliens didn't even know existed. Research stations in the deep void between stars. And manufacturing centers that could build anything from starships to entire space habitats. Show me the latest intelligence reports, Taehyun said as they moved to the command center. Captain Sora's face appeared on the main screen. She was currently aboard the stealth reconnaissance ship, Ghostwalker, deep in Trilaxian space. Admiral, we've completed the survey of Sector 847. 17 inhabited worlds, total population approximately 4 billion. Industrial capacity is lower than expected. They're still using chemical rockets for in-system transport. Any military installations? 3 orbital defense platforms, all using outdated plasma technology. A single human corvette could disable all 3 without taking damage. This was the pattern everywhere. The alien civilizations looked impressive from the outside. Vast fleets, fortified worlds, billions of citizens. But their technology was centuries behind humanity's. More importantly, they had no idea how to use what they had effectively. What about natural resources? Asked Dr. Minho. Barely touched, Sora replied. They're mining less than 5% of their available mineral wealth. Most of their planets still have untapped oceans and unexplored continents. It's like they're afraid to dig too deep or spread too far. Admiral Taehyun understood why. The three galactic powers were so focused on watching each other that they neglected their own development. They built just enough to maintain the balance of power, then stopped. Innovation was dangerous because it might upset the careful equilibrium they had maintained for centuries. In another part of the galaxy, Ji-won was conducting her own experiments. As head of the Quantum Communications Division, she was responsible for humanity's most advanced technology, the instantaneous communication network that connected every human installation across the galaxy. Network status report, she said to her assistant. Youngman, all nodes operational. Current coverage includes 94% of charted space and 67% of unexplored regions. Message transmission time averages 0.003 seconds regardless of distance. Ji-won pulled up a galactic map showing the network. Thousands of relay stations hidden throughout space, each one using quantum entanglement to send messages faster than light. The alien powers still relied on physical courier ships that took months to carry messages between distant worlds. Any problems with the new dark matter manipulators? She asked. Minor calibration issues on Station 47, but nothing serious. The aliens still don't know dark matter can be directly manipulated, so there's no risk of detection. This was humanity's greatest secret. While alien scientists studied dark matter from the outside, human researchers had learned to touch it, shape it, and use it as a tool. Dark matter manipulation allowed them to do things that seemed impossible. Bend space, create artificial gravity, even phase objects partially out of normal reality. Ji-won's personal communicator chimed with an incoming message from Earth Command. The quantum entanglement allowed for real-time conversation across any distance, something that still amazed her even after years of using the technology. Priority message from Admiral Taehyun, the device announced. All department heads report to Shipyard Prime for briefing. An hour later, the senior staff was assembled in the shipyard's main conference room. Admiral Taehyun looked serious as he addressed them. The cultural exchange program is proceeding, but we're facing new challenges. Our people embedded with the alien civilizations are reporting increased suspicion. They're starting to ask harder questions about our capabilities. Dr. Minho leaned forward. What kind of questions? Technical ones, mostly. Our engineers keep solving problems that the aliens consider impossible. Our scientists keep asking about research the aliens abandoned centuries ago. They're beginning to suspect we know more than we're telling them. Captain Sora's image appeared on the communication screen. I can confirm that from the intelligence side. Alien military commanders are noting that human reaction times and tactical thinking are far superior to what they expected from a primitive species. Ji-won spoke up. We always knew this would happen eventually. The question is, how long can we maintain the deception? That depends on how careful we are, the Admiral replied. But there's another issue. The alien powers are starting to see us as a potential game changer. All three sides are sending diplomatic missions to our colonies, hoping to recruit us as allies. This was dangerous territory. Humanity's policy had always been to remain neutral and hidden. Getting involved in the galactic Cold War could force them to reveal capabilities they weren't ready to show. Recommendations? Asked Admiral Taehyun. Dr. Minho was the first to speak. We could reveal some of our technology gradually. Nothing too advanced, just enough to explain our capabilities without showing our true strength. That's risky, Captain Sora warned. Once we start revealing technology, they'll want more. And they'll start asking where we got it. Ji-won had been thinking about this problem for months. Maybe it's time to consider a different approach. Instead of hiding our capabilities, we could misdirect them, make the aliens think our advantages come from something other than advanced technology. Explain, said the Admiral. We could claim that humans are naturally superior in certain areas, better reflexes, faster thinking, more intuitive understanding of physics. Let them think it's biological rather than technological. Captain Sora looked interested. That could work. Aliens already know that different species have different natural abilities. If they think humans are just naturally good at engineering and tactics, they might stop asking about our technology. Admiral Taehyun considered this. It's worth trying, but we need to be very careful about what we reveal and how we reveal it. One mistake could expose everything we've built out here. Dr. Minho pulled up a holographic display showing humanity's hidden infrastructure. Hundreds of installations, Thousands of ships, millions of people working in complete secrecy. We've spent 2 centuries building this. We can't risk losing it because we got careless. The meeting continued for several hours as they planned humanity's next moves. The galaxy was changing, and humanity would have to change with it. The age of hiding was coming to an end, but what would replace it was still unclear. Outside the shipyard's windows, the stars looked the same as always. But Admiral Tae-hyun knew that appearances could be deceiving. Among those stars, 3 ancient civilizations were struggling with forces they didn't understand, while humanity watched and waited for the right moment to step out of the shadows. That moment was coming sooner than any of them expected. Dr. Subin stood on the observation deck of the Velthura Research Station Harmony, watching the blue-green planet below. She had been living among the aliens for 3 months now, studying their culture as part of the first human-alien exchange program. What she had learned worried her. The war started over mining rights, explained her alien colleague Dr. Kenth, his forearms gesturing at a holographic display. The hegemony of Keth claimed the Trilaxian Empire was stealing resources from neutral space. That was 800 years ago. Subin nodded, making notes on her tablet. And it's still going on? Oh yes. Sometimes it gets hot, sometimes it cools down, but it never stops. None of us can afford to let our guard down. The moment one side gains an advantage, the others team up against them. Back on Earth, this kind of conflict had been called a Cold War. But 800 years, humans had gone from wooden ships to starships in less time than that. What about technological advancement? Subin asked. Surely progress continues despite the conflict? Dr. Kenth made a sound that the translator interpreted as bitter laughter. Progress? Any time one side develops something new, the others sabotage it or steal it. We spend more time watching each other than actually researching. Subin kept her expression neutral, but inside she was amazed. These 3 galactic powers had thousands of worlds and billions of citizens, but they were stuck in a technological stalemate. Meanwhile, humanity had been advancing exponentially in their hidden corner of space. Across the galaxy, Engineer Do-yun was having his own revelations. He had volunteered to work with Trilaxian scientists on what they called their most advanced project, a new type of faster-than-light engine. The quantum field manipulation is the tricky part, explained Chief Engineer Vorth, a tall creature with tentacles instead of arms. We can only achieve a 3-to-1 compression ratio. Do-hyun looked at their equations and had to stop himself from laughing. Their advanced engine was less efficient than the drive system on human cargo haulers. But he played his part. Fascinating, he said. On Earth, our scientists theorized that 7-to-1 might be possible. But we never had the resources to test it. Vorth's tentacles wiggled with excitement. 7-to-1? That would revolutionize galactic travel. Do you have the calculations? Some rough notes, Do-hyun said carefully. He would share just enough to seem helpful without revealing that human ships routinely achieved 50-to-1 compression ratios. Meanwhile, military analyst Yuna was embedded with a hegemony of Keth patrol fleet. She watched their combat exercises and had to work hard not to show her shock at how primitive their tactics were. The key to space warfare is formation, integrity, explained Fleet. Commander Zorth as his ships moved in rigid geometric patterns. Maintain discipline, follow the battle plan, and victory is assured. Yuna had studied these same tactics in military history classes. They were based on naval warfare from humanity's pre-spaceflight era. Human fleet doctrine had moved far beyond such simple concepts. What about adaptive responses? She asked. What if the enemy does something unexpected? Commander Zorth looked confused. Why would they? These formations have been perfected over thousands of years. Everyone knows the proper responses. That was the problem, Yuna realized. Everyone did know the responses. All 3 powers used the same basic playbook, which meant their conflicts dragged on forever with neither side able to gain a decisive advantage. The real shock came when Yuna observed their weapons testing. The aliens were proud of their new plasma cannons, which could destroy a small asteroid. She had personal sidearms that were more powerful. Your reaction times are impressive, Commander Zorth noted after watching Yuna during a simulation. Most species take several seconds to process targeting data. You seem to do it almost instantly. Yuna nodded modestly. Humans have quick reflexes. She didn't mention that she was using a neural interface that connected her brain directly to the ship's computers. From her perspective, the alien targeting systems were moving in slow motion. Back on the research station, Dr. Subin was making friends with the alien scientists. They were kind, intelligent beings who reminded her of human researchers from centuries past. They were asking the right questions but lacked the tools to find the answers. "We've been trying to understand dark matter for millennia," said Dr. Kent as they walked through the station's science labs. "We know it exists. We can detect its gravitational effects, but we can't interact with it directly." Subin nodded sympathetically. Human scientists had cracked dark matter manipulation 50 years ago. They used it for everything from faster-than-light communication to gravity control. But she couldn't tell the aliens that. "What about quantum entanglement?" she asked instead. "Theoretical only," Dr. Kent replied. "The energy requirements are too extreme for practical applications." Subin's personal communicator was using quantum entanglement to send instantaneous messages across the galaxy. Her morning briefing from Earth Command had arrived while she was eating breakfast, transmitted through a network of entangled particles that made the alien communication systems look like smoke signals. The most disturbing discovery came when Subin accessed the alien historical databases. The three galactic powers had been locked in their Cold War for so long that they had forgotten what peace looked like. Entire generations had grown up knowing nothing but mutual suspicion and careful balance of power. "Don't you ever imagine what could be accomplished if you worked together?" Subin asked Dr. Kent one day. The alien's large eyes seemed sad. "Of course. But it's impossible. Trust takes time to build, and we've had too many betrayals over the centuries. Besides, what if we let our guard down and they attack? Better to maintain the balance." Subin understood now why humanity had remained hidden. These civilizations were trapped in their own fears. They had the resources and knowledge to solve nearly any problem, but they spent all their energy watching each other instead of looking forward. In her private quarters that night, Subin composed her report for Earth Command. The galactic powers were not evil, just stuck. They needed guidance, but they would resist any attempt to force change upon them. "Recommendation," she wrote, "continue cultural exchange but prepare for long-term involvement. These species have potential, but will require careful handling. Any sudden revelation of our true capabilities could destabilize an already fragile situation." She paused before adding the final line. "Also recommend accelerating deep space monitoring. If these three powers ever unite against a common threat, their combined resources could pose a challenge even for us." It was a sobering thought. Humanity was more advanced, but they were also vastly outnumbered. The galaxy's stagnant civilizations might be primitive by human standards, but they still controlled thousands of worlds and trillions of citizens. The game of hiding was becoming more complex every day. The communication console on the bridge of the Terran defense ship Aurora lit up with an incoming signal. Commander Jiho looked up from his morning coffee and frowned. No one was supposed to be out here at the edge of known space. "Sir, we're getting a transmission from an unknown vessel," reported Lieutenant Mina from the communication station. "They're using standard galactic frequencies." Jiho set down his cup and walked to the main screen. "Put it through." The image that appeared made everyone on the bridge freeze. It was definitely not human. The creature had blue-gray skin, 4 arms, and large black eyes that seemed to take up half its face. When it spoke, the universal translator kicked in. "Unknown vessel, this is Captain Hyun of the Velthara diplomatic ship Seeker. We detected your settlements in this sector. Please identify yourselves." Jiho kept his face calm even though his heart was racing. This was it. First contact. After 200 years of hiding, someone had finally found them. "This is Commander Jiho of the Terran Defense Fleet. Welcome to our space. Captain Hyun." The alien's forearms moved in what might have been surprise. "Terran? We have no record of your species in our databases. How long have you been in this sector?" "Long enough to call it home," Jiho replied carefully. He pressed a button that would send an emergency signal to Earth Command. "We're peaceful settlers who prefer to keep to ourselves." Captain Hyun's large eyes blinked slowly. "Settlers? Our scans show multiple colonies and industrial facilities across dozens of systems. This would require a significant population and advanced technology." Jiho smiled. "We're good at making do with what we have." 3 hours later, Ambassador Nari arrived aboard the research vessel Exodus. She was one of humanity's best diplomats trained for exactly this situation. As she prepared to meet with the aliens, She reviewed the files that had been kept ready for decades. The Valthera Consortium was one of 3 major powers in the galaxy. They controlled over 1,000 star systems and had been spacefaring for nearly 10,000 years. According to human intelligence, they were the most peaceful of the 3 powers, which made them the best choice for first contact. Nari transported over to the alien ship with a small team. The artificial gravity felt different, and the air had a metallic taste even through her suit's filters. Captain Hyun met them in what appeared to be a conference room. "Ambassador Nari," she said, extending her hand in the human greeting gesture. "It's an honor to meet you." Captain Hyun awkwardly tried to copy the handshake with one of his 4 hands. "The honor is ours. We are curious about your people. You seem to have appeared from nowhere." "Not nowhere," Nari said with a smile. "We've been here for over 2 centuries. Our ancestors were explorers who wanted to find a quiet corner of the galaxy to build new homes." 2 centuries? Captain Hyun's translator conveyed his surprise. "That's impossible. We have deep space monitoring stations throughout this region. We would have detected such a large colonization effort." Nari's aide, Dr. Subin, spoke up. "Perhaps your sensors weren't looking for us. We tend to build our cities inside asteroids and on the dark sides of moons. We learned early that space can be dangerous. This was true, but not the whole truth. Humanity had mastered stealth technology that could hide entire planets from most scans. They had been watching the galaxy's major powers for decades, learning about their capabilities and weaknesses." Captain Hyun showed them to his ship's observation deck. Through the large windows, they could see the human colony ship New Sol in the distance. To alien eyes, it looked like a simple transport vessel. They couldn't see the advanced shields, the quantum computers, or the weapon systems that could destroy a small moon. "Your ship is quite large," Captain Hyun observed. "What do you use for power?" "Fusion reactors," Nari replied. This was technically true. They did use fusion reactors, but they had also mastered zero-point energy extraction and antimatter containment. Their real power sources would have seemed like magic to the aliens. Dr. Subin pulled out a small device and began taking readings of the alien ship. "Fascinating construction," she said. "How do you handle the stress fractures in your hull plating?" Captain Hyun looked confused. "Stress fractures? Our hulls are made from the strongest materials in the galaxy. They don't develop fractures." Subin smiled politely. "Of course. I'm just curious about maintenance procedures." She had already detected 17 different structural weaknesses in the alien ship's design. Human construction techniques had solved those problems centuries ago. The meeting continued for several hours. The aliens asked about human culture, technology, and intentions. Nari answered honestly but carefully, always understating humanity's true capabilities. "We're simple people," she said. "We farm, we build, we explore a little. We have no interest in politics or conquest. We just want to live in peace." Captain Hyun seemed satisfied with this answer. "The consortium values peaceful species. Perhaps we could arrange for some limited trade and cultural exchange." "We'd be honored," Nari replied. "Though I should warn you, we're probably not as advanced as you're used to dealing with. We might not have much to offer." As the human delegation prepared to leave, Captain Hyun made one last comment. "I must admit I'm impressed by your people's ability to remain hidden for so long. It takes considerable skill to avoid our detection networks." Nari just smiled. "We're good at staying out of trouble." Later, back aboard the Exodus, Dr. Subin was reviewing her scans of the alien vessel. "Their technology is at least 3 centuries behind ours," she reported to Nari. "Their computer systems are using binary processing. Their power distribution is incredibly inefficient. And their weapons," she shook her head. "I've seen better designs in our history museums." Nari nodded. This matched intelligence reports from the hidden observation posts that had been watching the galactic powers for decades. "Remember, Subin, we're supposed to be simple colonists. No showing off." "Understood," Subin replied. "But it's going to be hard to pretend their technology impresses us." Nari looked out at the stars. Humanity had a choice to make. They could continue hiding, living quietly at the edge of space, or they could slowly reveal themselves and try to guide these ancient but stagnant civilizations toward something better. Either way, the galaxy would never be the same. First contact had been made, and now everyone would have to live with the consequences. The massive space station floated in the darkness near Proxima Centauri. Its metal walls stretched for miles in every direction. Inside the main chamber, beings from across the galaxy gathered around a huge circular table. The air buzzed with tension as holographic displays showed star maps and battle reports. Council leader Vextar stood at the center. His tall blue-skinned form towered over the others. 6 arms moved gracefully as he pointed to the floating images above the table. The data was clear and brutal. Another species was about to die. The humans have lasted longer than we expected, Vextar said. His voice echoed through the chamber. But our calculations show they will fall within 6 hours. Admiral Cray of the Zephyrian Navy laughed. His reptilian face showed sharp teeth. These primitive creatures should have died weeks ago. They use metal bullets and simple explosives. How did they survive this long against the harvesters? The holographic display showed Earth's solar system. Red dots marked harvester ships moving closer to the blue planet. Yellow dots showed human vessels retreating from every front. The numbers told a simple story. The humans were losing badly. Their technology is ancient, said Counselor Nixila. Her insect-like eyes studied the data. They only reached space 200 years ago. We have starships older than their entire civilization. Around the table, other alien leaders nodded, the Veltorians with their crystal bodies, the gas-dwelling Nephrons floating in their containment suits, the machine race Syntheri with their glowing red sensors. All agreed on one thing. Humanity was doomed. Vextar activated another display. It showed human military reports they had intercepted. Mars colonies have fallen. Jupiter's moons are under attack. Their orbital defenses around Earth are failing. He paused dramatically. The Harvester main fleet will reach Earth in 4 hours. Should we intervene? Asked a young Veltorian diplomat. The chamber fell silent. Then Admiral Cray spoke. For what purpose? We cannot waste Council resources on a species that will be extinct by tomorrow. The Harvesters have destroyed 47 civilizations. These humans will be number 48. Far from the Council station, the human command ship Soul's Pride drifted among the wreckage of a recent battle. The vessel's hull bore scars from energy weapons. Through its windows, the crew could see the twisted remains of other human ships floating in space. On the bridge, Fleet Admiral Dong Min studied the tactical displays. His weathered face showed no emotion as he read the casualty reports. Behind him, officers worked at their stations with quiet efficiency. The red emergency lights cast shadows across their faces. Captain Yu Jin approached with a data pad. Her uniform was stained with oil and sweat. Sir, the final numbers from Mars are in. We lost 60,000 civilians and most of the defense fleet. Dong Min took the report without looking up from his screens. How many ships do we have left? 312 vessels across all fleets. The Harvesters have over 10,000 ships approaching Earth. Yu Jin's voice stayed steady despite the terrible odds. The Admiral finally turned to face her. And our special projects? Luna Base reports they are ready. Dr. Haywan says they just need your authorization code. Dong Min walked to the main view screen. Outside, he could see distant explosions as human and Harvester forces clashed near Saturn's rings. Each flash of light meant more human lives lost, but his expression remained calm. Tell me, Captain, he said quietly, what do you know about wolves? Yu Jin looked confused. Wolves, sir? On Earth long ago, humans learned to hunt with wolves. Other predators were stronger, faster, but wolves were smart. They worked together. They learned from their prey. He turned back to face the bridge crew. The Harvesters think they are hunting sheep. They are about to discover they have cornered wolves. The communications officer looked up from his station. Sir, we're receiving a message from the Galactic Council. They're offering to record our final battle for their historical archives. Several officers turned to stare at the Admiral. The suggestion was insulting. The mighty council would watch humanity die and take notes for their libraries. Dongmin smiled for the first time in days. Send them a reply. Tell them we appreciate their interest in human history, and tell them to keep recording. They won't want to miss what happens next. On the council station, the aliens monitored dozens of communication channels. Human military chatter filled their speakers. Most of it sounded like standard retreat orders and damage reports, nothing unusual for a dying species. But technician Brixenol noticed something odd in the data. Energy readings from Earth's moon were much higher than they should be. The power levels made no sense for human technology. Admiral Cray, Brixenol called out. I'm detecting unusual energy signatures from Luna Base. Cray barely looked at the readings. Equipment malfunction. Human technology is primitive. They couldn't generate power levels like that. But sir, the patterns suggest— Focus on the main battle, Cray interrupted. The harvesters will finish this soon. Back on Seoul's Pride, Admiral Dongmin received a private message on his personal communicator. Dr. Haewon's face appeared on the small screen. She looked tired but determined. Admiral, Project Prometheus is ready for activation. We've run every simulation. The probability of success is, well, it's our only chance. How long do we need? Dongmin asked. Give us 20 minutes after you send the authorization. And Admiral, this will work. I know it will, Dongmin nodded. He had known Dr. Haewon for 15 years. She had never failed him. You'll have your 20 minutes, Doctor. Make them count. He closed the connection and turned to Yujin. Signal all fleet commanders. Begin Operation Shepherd. Shepherd, sir? It's time to separate the wolves from the sheep, Captain. As orders went out across the human fleet, something changed in the way human ships moved. They stopped retreating in panic. Instead, they began moving with purpose. Ships that had been scattered across the solar system started forming new formations. The Galactic Council watched these movements with mild interest. To them, it looked like humans were gathering for a final desperate stand. Admiral Cray updated his predictions. The humans might last an extra hour before complete destruction. None of the aliens understood what they were really seeing. The human fleet wasn't preparing to die. They were preparing to hunt. Far beneath the surface of Earth's moon, massive machines hummed with power. Technicians ran final checks on systems the galaxy had never seen before. In hidden bunkers across the solar system, human scientists activated equipment that would change everything. The harvesters approached Earth with confidence. They had destroyed worlds for thousands of years. Their mechanical minds calculated the same result as the Council. Humans would fall within hours, but the harvesters, like the Council, had made one critical mistake. They had studied human technology and human weapons. They had analyzed human military tactics and human ship designs. But they had never bothered to understand what made humans truly dangerous. They were about to learn that humans didn't fight like any other species in the galaxy, and that lesson would cost them everything. The Council observation station maintained its safe distance from the battle zone. Through powerful sensors, the aliens watched what they believed would be humanity's final hours. Council technician Brixnell sat at his monitoring station, tracking communication signals across the solar system. The human communications have changed, Brixnell reported to his supervisor. They're using different frequencies now, and these energy readings from their moon base keep getting stronger. Supervisor Dexmol floated over in his environmental suit. His gas-form body swirled inside the clear container. Show me the data. Brixnell pulled up the readings on his screen. The power levels from Luna Base had doubled in the last hour. Sir, these numbers don't match anything in our database. How can such a primitive species generate this much energy? Sensor error, Dexmol said dismissively. Their fusion reactors are probably overloading. We'll see some spectacular explosions when they fail. But Brixnell wasn't convinced. He had been monitoring alien communications for 30 years. These patterns were different. The humans weren't panicking anymore. Their military chatter had become precise and coordinated, almost like they were following a plan. Deep beneath the surface of Earth's moon, Dr. Haewon walked through corridors that didn't exist on any public map. The Luna Base facility extended for miles underground. Most humans didn't know it was there. The Galactic Council certainly didn't know. Status report, Dr. Haewon called out as she entered the main control room. Engineer Tae-sung looked up from his console. Quantum resonance chambers are at full capacity. All 7 reactors are stable. We're ready for activation on your command. Dr. Haewon studied the massive displays showing energy flow throughout the hidden complex. Project Prometheus had taken 10 years to build. The finest human scientists had worked in secret to create something the galaxy had never seen before. What about the network connections? She asked. Every human ship, station, and defense platform is linked to our system, reported technician Hyojin. They don't even know they're connected. The quantum transmitters we installed look like standard communication equipment. Dr. Haewon smiled. That had been the most clever part of the plan. For 3 years, human ships had been receiving standard upgrades to their communication systems. Small quantum transmitters that appeared to be normal equipment. Now every human vessel in space was secretly connected to Luna Base. Dr. Yonsu, how are our test subjects? Dr. Haewon asked. Dr. Yonsu gestured toward a sealed chamber in the corner of the room. Inside, pieces of captured harvester technology floated in containment fields. We've learned everything we need to know about their network protocols. The virus packages are ready for deployment. This was humanity's greatest secret. While the Council and the Harvesters saw them as primitive warriors with simple weapons, humans had been studying their enemies. Every Harvester ship they destroyed, every piece of technology they captured had been brought here for analysis. The aliens thought warfare was about having better weapons and more ships. Humans had learned it was about understanding your enemy better than they understood themselves. In orbit around Earth, Captain Jinne commanded the destroyer Busan Thunder. Her ship was part of what remained of the Third Fleet. Only 47 vessels survived from the original 300. But her crew worked with calm efficiency despite the odds. "Ma'am, we're receiving coded transmissions from Luna Base," reported Communications Officer Wu Bin. Jinne nodded. "Put it through my private channel." Dr. Heywan's voice came through clearly.
"Captain, we are go for Protocol 7. Are your systems ready?"
Jinne checked her tactical display. The quantum transmitter hidden in her communication array showed green status lights. "All systems nominal, Doctor. Busan Thunder is ready." "Good luck, Captain. In 20 minutes we change everything." Navigator So Young looked up from her station. "Captain, the Harvester main fleet has entered the outer solar system. Their mothership it's enormous." Through the view screen they could see the approaching enemy. The Harvester mothership was the size of a small moon. Its dark hull bristled with weapons that could destroy planets. Around it flew thousands of smaller ships, each one larger than any human vessel. "So Young, how many ships are in their fleet?" Jinne asked. "Sensors count over 10,000 vessels, ma'am, including the mothership." Weapons Officer Min Ho shook his head. "Ma'am, our entire combined fleet couldn't scratch that mothership's armor. How are we supposed to fight something like that?" Jinne studied the enemy formation. The Harvesters moved with mechanical precision. Every ship in its exact position. Every weapon aimed with perfect calculation. They were a fleet that had conquered the galaxy through overwhelming force and superior technology. But they had never faced humans before. "Min Ho," Jinne said calmly, "what's the first rule of fighting a larger enemy?" "Don't fight them on their terms, ma'am." "Exactly. We're not going to fight their ships. We're going to fight their minds." On Earth, President Myung-ho stood in the Global Defense Command Center deep beneath Seoul. The bunker could survive a direct nuclear strike. Today it might need to survive much worse. Defense Minister Soo-jin approached with the latest reports. "Mr. President, all fleet commanders have confirmed readiness for Protocol 7. Admiral Dong-min is waiting for your authorization." President Myung-ho looked at the massive display showing the solar system. Red enemy contacts outnumbered blue human forces by 30 to 1. In conventional warfare, this would be suicide. But Protocol 7 wasn't conventional warfare. "Minister Soo-jin, how long have we been preparing for this moment?" 15 years, sir. Ever since we learned the Harvesters existed. "And how long have the Council been underestimating us?" "Since first contact, Mr. President." Myung-ho nodded. "Then it's time to educate them. Send the authorization code." The message flashed instantly to Luna Base. Dr. Heywan received it at her control station and entered the codes into the system. Across her displays, status lights turned from yellow to green. "All stations, this is Control. Prometheus Protocol is now active. Begin final sequence." Throughout the hidden facility, hundreds of technicians began the process that would change galactic history. Quantum computers calculated targeting solutions. Energy flowed through systems designed to weaponize the very laws of physics. And in the containment chambers, captured Harvester technology provided the keys to their enemy's destruction. The Galactic Council continued their observations, unaware that they were about to witness something impossible. Admiral Cray updated his prediction models. "The humans are gathering their remaining ships around Earth, a final desperate stand. They'll be extinct within 3 hours." Council leader Vextar studied the human formations. "Their tactics are predictable. Group your strongest ships around your homeworld and hope for the best. These creatures show no innovation, but if the Council had been monitoring the right frequencies, they would have heard something that should have terrified them. Across every human ship, station, and outpost, the same message was being transmitted in perfect synchronization. Protocol 7 is active. All units synchronized to Luna Base transmission. Prepare for quantum cascade initiation." The humans weren't preparing for a last stand. They were preparing to turn 10,000 years of Harvester superiority into their greatest weakness. In the Harvester fleet, Mechanical minds calculated their approach to Earth. They had destroyed 47 civilizations before this one. Their tactics had never failed. Overwhelming force, superior technology, and perfect coordination had conquered the galaxy. But they had never encountered a species that studied defeat to learn victory. And they had never faced an enemy that could turn their greatest strength into their greatest vulnerability. The countdown to Protocol 7 reached its final minutes. And somewhere in the darkness between stars, the balance of power in the galaxy was about to shift forever. Council leader Vextar grew more irritated with each passing hour. His predictions showed the humans should have collapsed by now. Yet their ships continued to fight with increasing coordination. Something was wrong with his calculations. Admiral Cray, Vextar called across the observation chamber. Why are the humans still organized? Your models predicted total chaos by now. Admiral Cray studied his tactical displays with growing confusion. The human fleet movements made no sense. Instead of scattering in panic, they were forming precise formations. Ships that had been retreating were now advancing with purpose. Perhaps they are attempting one final assault, Cray suggested. Desperate creatures often show unexpected courage before death. But technician Brixnell had been watching the human communications all day. The patterns he saw didn't match any known retreat or assault plan. Sir, I'm detecting massive energy buildups across human territory. These readings they're impossible. Cray floated over to examine the data. The power signatures were indeed massive. But they appeared to be coming from locations with no military bases. Equipment malfunction. Run a full diagnostic on our sensors. I've run 5 diagnostics, sir. The readings are accurate. The humans are generating energy levels that exceed our dreadnought reactors. Around the chamber, other council members began to take notice. The Veltorians with their crystal bodies started examining the data with their advanced optical sensors. The machine race Syntheri ran rapid calculations through their quantum processors. This makes no sense, muttered Councillor Nixla. We have their technology profiles. They use primitive fusion reactors and chemical propulsion. How can they generate this much power? On Earth, President Myung-ho stood before the emergency session of the Global Defense Parliament. Representatives from every nation gathered in the underground chamber. The walls displayed real-time battle feeds from across the solar system. Fellow humans, President Myung-ho began. For months we have watched our people die fighting an enemy that seemed unstoppable. The Galactic Council believes we are about to join 47 other dead civilizations. They are wrong. Representative Yoonji from the Korean Federation leaned forward. Mr. President, our losses have been enormous. Mars is gone. The outer colonies have fallen. How can we possibly defeat an enemy that has conquered the galaxy? Because we learned from every species they destroyed before us, Myung-ho replied. While the council watched and took notes, we studied those notes. We analyzed every defeat, every mistake, every tactical error. We know exactly how the harvesters fight. Representative Kyung-ho from the African Union stood up. Are you saying we deliberately allowed them to advance this far? I'm saying we gave them exactly what they expected to see. A primitive species with outdated weapons fighting a losing battle. We let them commit their entire fleet to our solar system. Today we spring the trap. The chamber fell silent. Outside, the sounds of distant explosions could be heard as harvester forces approached Earth's orbital defenses. But instead of fear, the representatives saw determination in their president's eyes. 15 years ago, we learned that the harvesters existed. We could have joined the Galactic Council and begged for protection. Instead, we chose to protect ourselves. And in the process, we developed something the galaxy has never seen. Minister Soo-jin activated a holographic display showing Luna Base. But instead of the small research station the council believed it to be, the image revealed a massive underground complex. Project Prometheus, Myung-ho continued. The largest scientific undertaking in human history, built in secret with technology the council believes we don't possess. In the Harvester fleet, the mothership's central intelligence processed the approach to Earth. Its mechanical mind held the tactical data from 47 previous conquests. Every battle followed the same pattern. Overwhelming force led to quick surrender or total annihilation. The Harvester mothership was ancient beyond measure. It had witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations across the galaxy. Its hull bore the scars of 1,000 battles. Its weapons had turned planets to ash, and its mechanical intelligence had never known defeat. The Central Intelligence calculated the human fleet strength. 300 vessels against 10,000. The humans had positioned their ships in a defensive formation around Earth. Standard tactics for a hopeless last stand. Estimated time to complete conquest: 2 hours and 17 minutes. But if the Harvester intelligence had the capacity for doubt, it might have wondered why the humans seemed so calm. Their communications showed no panic. Their ship movements remained precise and coordinated. They fought like a species that believed it could win. Back on the council station, Admiral Cray received an urgent report from his science officer. "Sir, the energy readings from human territory have increased again. They're now generating more power than our entire observation fleet." "That's impossible," Cray snapped. "Check the sensors again." "I've checked them 6 times, sir." "The readings are accurate." "And there's something else. We're detecting coordinated energy spikes from human ships throughout the solar system. They're all synchronized to the same frequency." For the first time, Admiral Cray felt a flicker of uncertainty. Synchronized energy patterns suggested advanced coordination systems, but humans used primitive radio communications. They shouldn't be capable of such precise timing across such vast distances. Council leader Vextar joined the conversation. "What kind of energy patterns?" "Quantum frequency modulation, sir. The type used in our most advanced communication networks. But the scale is enormous. It's like they've connected every human ship and station into a single network." "Impossible," Vextar declared. "Humans don't possess quantum communication technology." But deep in his mind, a troubling thought began to form. What if they had underestimated humanity's capabilities? On Luna Base, Dr. Haywan watched the final preparations with quiet satisfaction. Around her, hundreds of technicians worked at stations controlling the most complex system ever built by human hands. "Dr. Yeon Su, status of the virus packages," she called out. "Ready for deployment. We've tested them against every piece of Harvester technology we've captured. The infection rate is 97%. Taesung reactor status: all 7 quantum reactors stable at maximum output. We could power half of Earth with this energy." Dr. Haywan smiled. The Galactic Council believed humans were primitive because they used simple weapons and old-style rockets. But while the Council watched their ships and guns, humans had been developing something far more sophisticated. They had learned to think. Hyojin, network status: all human vessels connected. Every ship, station, and defense platform is now part of our quantum communication grid. They don't even know they're linked to us. This was the secret the galaxy hadn't discovered. For 3 years, every human vessel had received routine upgrades to their communication systems. Small quantum transmitters disguised as normal equipment. Now every human ship in space was secretly connected to Luna Base through an instantaneous network. "Professor Minho, are the targeting systems ready?" Professor Minho looked up from his console. His team had spent 5 years analyzing captured Harvester technology. "We know their command frequencies, their network protocols, and their security codes. When we strike, their own systems will turn against them." The plan was brilliant in its simplicity. The Harvesters relied on perfect coordination between their ships. Every vessel was connected to their central intelligence through quantum networks. But networks could be hacked, and humans had become very good at hacking. "All stations," Dr. Haywan announced. "Prometheus protocol reaches final phase in 10 minutes. Prepare for cascade initiation." Across the solar system, human ships received the synchronized signal. But to outside observers, nothing seemed to change. The human fleet maintained its defensive positions around Earth. Their weapons remained powered down. They looked like a defeated force waiting for the end. The Galactic Council continued their observations, recording what they believed would be humanity's final moments. The Harvesters approached with mechanical confidence, certain of another easy victory. But in the quantum networks hidden throughout human space, something unprecedented was building. A weapon that would turn the galaxy's most fearsome predators into their own worst enemy. The countdown reached 5 minutes, and in the darkness between stars, the Harvesters flew straight into a trap 15 years in the making. The Harvester mothership emerged from the darkness beyond Pluto like a nightmare made real. The massive vessel stretched for hundreds of kilometers. Its black hull absorbed light, making it appear as a hole in space itself. Ancient weapon systems covered every surface, each one capable of destroying entire cities. Behind the mothership came its escort fleet, 10,000 ships of various sizes all moving in perfect formation, Their engines left trails of energy that lit up the void like deadly stars. For 10,000 years, this fleet had brought death to civilizations across the galaxy. On the Council observation station, alarms began to sound. The Harvester fleet was larger than their intelligence had suggested. Admiral Cray stared at his sensors in disbelief. Sensor operator Kixnell, confirm those readings, Cray ordered. Kixnell's tentacles danced across her control panel. Confirmed, sir. The main fleet consists of 10,147 vessels. The mothership alone masses approximately 40 billion tons. Council leader Vextar felt his confidence waver. This was the largest Harvester fleet ever assembled. They weren't just planning to destroy humanity. They were planning to make an example of them. Begin recording everything, Vextar commanded. Future civilizations must understand what happens to species that resist the Harvesters. But Technician Brixenel was focused on something else entirely. The energy readings from human territory had spiked again. The power levels were now beyond anything in their databases. Sir, Brixenel called out urgently, the humans are generating enough energy to power a Class 7 civilization. This is impossible for their technology level. Admiral Cray waved dismissively. Their reactors are overloading. We'll see spectacular explosions when they fail. Deep beneath Sol, Professor Minho worked frantically at his control station. The hidden facility housed the most advanced computer systems ever built by human hands. Quantum processors calculated targeting solutions at impossible speeds. Professor, we have positive lock on the Harvester command frequencies, reported Technician Nei Young. Her fingers flew across her keyboard as she monitored the enemy fleet's communications. Excellent. How many virus packages are ready for deployment? 7 million, sir. One for each unique signature in their network. Professor Minho smiled grimly. The Harvesters thought their network was impenetrable. Quantum encryption, mechanical safeguards, and AI monitoring systems protected their communications. But they had never faced an enemy that understood their technology better than they did. For 5 years, captured Harvester equipment had been studied in this facility. Every circuit analyzed, every protocol mapped, every security measure defeated. The humans hadn't just learned how Harvester technology worked. They had learned how to destroy it. On Luna Base, Dr. Haywan received the final confirmation from Earth. All teams report ready. Virus packages loaded and standing by. She turned to her primary console and began entering the activation codes. Around her, the massive chamber hummed with energy. 7 quantum reactors channeled power through systems that existed nowhere else in the galaxy. Dr. Yansu, initiate Cascade Protocol. Dr. Yansu's hands moved across her controls with practiced precision. Cascade Protocol initiated. Quantum resonance chambers approaching critical threshold. The displays around the chamber showed energy levels climbing toward values that should have been impossible. But human science had always excelled at making the impossible routine. In Earth's orbit, Captain Jin'e watched the approaching Harvester fleet through Busan Thunder's viewscreen. The enemy ships blotted out the stars, their weapons charged with energy that could vaporize her destroyer in seconds. Captain, Communications Officer Wu Bin reported, we're receiving final authorization from Luna Base. Jin'e nodded calmly. Around her, the bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency. They showed no fear despite facing impossible odds. They knew something the rest of the galaxy didn't. Weapons Officer Minho, are our systems synchronized? Yes, ma'am. We're connected to the quantum network. All human ships are showing green status. Navigator So Young looked up from her station. Ma'am, the mothership has entered weapons range of Earth. They're powering up their main batteries. Through the view screen, they could see energy building along the massive vessel's hull. Each weapon system held enough power to crack continents. The Harvesters were preparing to demonstrate their superiority to the watching galaxy. But they had made one critical error. They had brought their entire fleet into the Sol system. Every ship, every weapon, every piece of their ancient technology was now within range of humanity's trap. On the Harvester mothership, the Central Intelligence processed the final approach to Earth. The human fleet had formed a defensive line around their homeworld. 300 small vessels against 10,000 advanced warships. The outcome was predetermined. The Central Intelligence began charging the mothership's primary weapons. In 30 seconds, Earth's orbital defenses would be destroyed. In 60 seconds, the planet's surface would begin burning. In 2 hours, humanity would be extinct. But the mechanical mind noticed something unusual. Human communications had gone completely silent. No distress calls, no desperate pleas for mercy, no final messages to loved ones. The humans waited in perfect silence. The Central Intelligence filed this observation as curious but unimportant. Fear affected different species in different ways. Some screamed, others fell silent. The result was always the same. On Luna Base, Dr. HFY watched the countdown timer reach its final seconds. Around her, hundreds of technicians prepared to unleash something the universe had never seen. All stations, this is Control. Execute Prometheus protocol on my mark. The quantum reactors reached full power. Energy flowed through systems designed to weaponize the fundamental forces of physics. In the containment chambers, captured harvester technology provided the keys to their own destruction. 3, 2, 1. Execute! Dr. HFY pressed the activation key. Across the solar system, every human ship received the same signal simultaneously. Captain Jinneh felt the slight vibration as hidden systems activated throughout Busan Thunder. Similar activations occurred on every human vessel in space. All units. Admiral Dongman's voice echoed across the quantum network. Synchronized to Luna Base transmission. Execute Protocol 7 for Earth, for humanity, for everyone who comes after us. The response came instantly from every human ship, station, and outpost. For humanity. But to outside observers, nothing seemed to happen. The human fleet remained in position. Their weapons stayed powered down. They looked like defeated prey waiting for slaughter. The Harvester mothership fired its first salvo. Beams of energy that could destroy moons lanced out toward Earth's defenses. But instead of vaporizing human ships, something impossible occurred. The energy beams struck invisible barriers and dispersed harmlessly into space. The Harvester Central Intelligence registered the failure and immediately recalculated. Its sensors detected massive energy fields surrounding every human vessel. Defensive systems that shouldn't exist were protecting the primitive fleet. But that was only the beginning. From Luna Base, Dr. HFY's quantum transmitters sent 7 million virus packages directly into the Harvester communication network. The packets traveled through quantum frequencies, arriving instantly across the enemy fleet. The Harvester ships had no defense against this attack. Their security systems were designed to stop physical threats and energy weapons. They had never considered that an enemy might weaponize information itself. Lieutenant Jun Seo aboard the cruiser Incheon's Hammer watched his tactical display light up with confirmation signals. Captain, virus deployment successful. We have positive infiltration of enemy command networks. The viruses spread through the Harvester fleet like wildfire. Each packet contained instructions written in the machine's own programming language. Simple commands that use their own coordination protocols against them. Within minutes, 10,000 ships that had moved in perfect harmony for millennia began receiving contradictory orders. Some were told to attack their neighbors. Others received navigation commands that sent them spinning out of control. The ancient mothership itself suddenly found its weapon systems targeting its own escort fleet. On the council station, Admiral Cray watched in stunned disbelief as the impossible unfolded on his screens. This cannot be happening. How are the humans doing this? Council leader Vextar stared at the tactical display as if it were showing him fiction. The greatest fleet in galactic history was tearing itself apart. And the humans hadn't fired a single shot. The countdown to humanity's extinction had become the countdown to the Harvester's destruction. And the galaxy would never be the same again. The chaos in the Harvester fleet spread faster than wildfire. Ships that had moved in perfect coordination for thousands of years suddenly turned their weapons on each other. The ancient formation that had conquered 47 civilizations dissolved into pandemonium. Lieutenant Jun Seo aboard the cruiser Incheon's Hammer watched his sensors in amazement. Captain, the virus is spreading through their entire network. Infection rate is at 96% and climbing. Captain Lee stared at the tactical display. Harvester ships were firing at random targets, their own vessels included. The massive mothership's weapons had gone completely wild, sending energy beams in all directions. How is this possible? Lee whispered. Engineer Ne Young looked up from her station with excitement. Captain, we're watching 15 years of human planning in action. Every piece of captured Harvester technology, every intercepted communication, every tactical analysis led to this moment. The human fleet remained in position around Earth, their weapons still powered down. They didn't need to fire. The enemy was destroying itself. On the Council observation station, pandemonium erupted among the alien observers. Admiral Kray's reptilian features twisted in disbelief as he watched the most powerful fleet in galactic history tear itself apart. "This is impossible," Kray roared. "The Harvesters have perfect coordination protocols. Their network security is impenetrable." Sensor operator Kixanel's tentacles trembled as she read her instruments. "Sir, the humans have somehow infiltrated their command network. The Harvester ships are receiving contradictory orders from their own central intelligence." Council leader Vextar felt his 6 arms shaking. How can a primitive species hack technology that has existed for millennia? Their computers are barely more advanced than mechanical calculators. But technician Brixnell had been monitoring the human quantum transmissions. "Sir, I don't think their technology is as primitive as we believed. These quantum frequency patterns are more sophisticated than anything in our databases." The truth was beginning to dawn on the Council. They had been completely wrong about humanity's capabilities. In the Harvester fleet, the central intelligence aboard the mothership fought desperately to regain control. Its mechanical mind processed millions of calculations per second, trying to isolate the viral infection. But the human virus was unlike anything it had encountered. The infection didn't just disrupt systems. It used the Harvester's own coordination protocols to spread the chaos. Every attempt to send corrective commands only spread the virus further through the network. Harvester ships began colliding with each other as their navigation systems received conflicting orders. Weapons fired randomly as targeting computers lost all sense of friend or enemy. The perfect machine intelligence that had conquered the galaxy was now its own worst enemy. On Luna Base, Dr. Haywan watched the results with grim satisfaction. "Tae-sung, what's the status of their fleet coordination?" Engineer Tae-sung read his displays with amazement. "Complete breakdown, Doctor. Their central command has lost contact with over 60% of the fleet. The remaining ships are operating on random protocols." Dr. Yansu monitored the virus propagation. "The infection has reached the mothership's core systems. Their main intelligence is fragmenting." This was humanity's masterstroke. The Harvesters relied on networked intelligence to coordinate their massive fleets. But networks had vulnerabilities, and humans had spent 15 years learning to exploit every single one. Professor Minho received reports from monitoring stations across the solar system. All sectors reporting successful virus deployment. The Harvester fleet is in complete disarray. Dr. Haywan activated the communication link to Earth. "Professor Minho, are you ready for Phase 2? "Standing by, Doctor. The cleanup protocols are loaded and ready." Phase 2 was the most audacious part of the plan. The virus wasn't just designed to cause chaos. It was designed to give humans control of Harvester technology. "Execute Phase 2, Dr. Haywan commanded. Across the infected fleet, a new set of commands propagated through the Harvester network. But these weren't random instructions. These were precise orders written by human programmers who understood the alien technology better than its creators. Harvester ships began powering down their weapons. Navigation systems received new coordinates that sent them away from Earth. Even the massive mothership found its engines turning it away from the planet it had come to. Destroy Captain Ginny watched in wonder as the enemy fleet began an orderly retreat. "Communications Officer Wubin, are we controlling their ships?" "Yes, ma'am. Luna Base has assumed command of approximately 8,000 enemy vessels. The remaining ships are either destroyed or completely offline." Weapons Officer Minho shook his head in disbelief. "We've just captured the most powerful fleet in galactic history without firing a shot." Navigator So Young checked her sensors. "Captain, the mothership is moving away from Earth. Its weapons are powering down." The impossible had happened. In less than 20 minutes, humanity had defeated an enemy that had terrorized the galaxy for millennia. On the Council station, the aliens watched in stunned silence as the Harvester fleet fell under human control. Admiral Kray's tactical computers showed readings that made no sense. How could a species with primitive technology suddenly command advanced alien vessels? "Brixnell," Vextar said weakly, "what are our sensors telling us about human capabilities?" Brixnell studied his readings with growing amazement. "Sir, the power levels from their hidden facility suggest they possess technology equal to or superior to our own. The quantum networks they're using are more advanced than anything we've developed. The revelation hit the council like a physical blow. They had dismissed humanity as primitive based on superficial observations. They had seen human ships with metal hulls and chemical rockets and assumed the entire species was backward. But they had never looked deeper. They had never considered that humans might deliberately appear primitive while developing advanced technology in secret. Counselor Nixila spoke the thought that terrified them all. If they can do this to the harvesters, what could they do to us? The question hung in the air like a death sentence. The council had just witnessed a species they considered inferior defeat the greatest military force in galactic history. If humans could hack harvester technology, they could certainly hack council systems. In Earth's orbit, Admiral Dong Min received the final reports from his fleet commanders. All vessels report successful mission completion. Enemy fleet neutralized with 0 human casualties. 0 casualties. They had defeated 10,000 enemy ships without losing a single human life. Admiral, Captain Yujin reported, we're receiving a priority transmission from the Galactic Council. They're requesting immediate communication. Dongmin smiled. I imagine they are. Put them through to President Myung-ho. This is a conversation for politicians. On Earth, President Myung-ho received the Council's desperate plea for audience. The same aliens who had dismissed humanity as doomed primitives now begged to speak with human leadership. Mr. President, Defense Minister Su-jin said, the Council leader Vextar is requesting emergency communication. He sounds frightened. Myung-ho considered the request. The galaxy needed to understand that humanity was no longer the weak species they could ignore, but they also needed to understand that humans didn't seek conquest. Connect the call, Myung-ho decided. It's time for the galaxy to meet humanity properly. As the communication link opened, Myung-ho prepared to deliver the message that would reshape galactic politics forever. The age of human weakness was over. The age of human protection for all peaceful species was about to begin. The harvesters had learned too late that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't technology. It was the ability to think, adapt, and turn any enemy's strength into their weakness. And now the entire galaxy would learn that lesson.